Well, hey guys, how you doing? What we have here is our 67, 68, 327 or 350 intake manifold. For you complete geeks out there, it is a 3919803, which would have been found on the 250, 275, 325, and 350 horsepower engines. Basically, if you had a late 60s small block powered car, no matter what the power rating, this intake manifold probably would have been on that car, provided it had a 4-barrel and not the 2, obviously. I'm starting out here at work because I've got the wash cabinet and a bigger air compressor for my little sandblaster, media blaster. So I'm going to get busy stripping this thing down. I'm going to scrape all the caked on grease that's still left, scrape off gaskets, get underneath, take the shield off, get all the carbon out from underneath there. Then we'll take it home. Well, then we'll blast it, take it home, go from there. Missing the oil filler, spout, and the cap. Missing the coil bracket. Some of you young bucks might be wondering why there's an extra hole. That's for the oil fill. Did not fill through the valve covers yet. Bimetal automatic choke spring sat there. Be kind of cool to go back to that, but I doubt I will. Other than that, this is something I'm sure you've seen a million times. So I'm just going to get busy cleaning this up, and then I'm going to go to the other shop and throw it in the wash cabinet. Homemade coal. Now normally I might consider masking off the carburetor platform here just to keep media from going down into the bores and through the runners and everything. This particular one, I'm going to blast it all. May even throw it back in the wash cabinet after I'm done. Of course, hit it with air very well. Re-clean it as good as I can, but this thing has been sitting in a shed for you know, like the engine that it's going on, it easily could have been there for 20, 30, 40 years, who knows. So it's rusty down in there, a lot of junk, and I just want to get it as clean as I possibly can. I will also chase all the threads, but that'll probably be the last thing I do. Well, after I paint it anyway. The rear studs here for the carburetor, may just leave those for now. May not end up being long enough, but there's no point in taking them out at this point. Well, actually, when I do paint, I'm going to want a mask and they'll get in the way. I might as well pull them out. But for right now, before I get to paint, still in the view there, took our heat shield for the oil off here. And of course, if you're messing around with one of these, even if you're rebuilding an old engine and you're going to reuse factory intake, I would pop this off and get all that crud out of there so that you don't have old carbon in a new clean engine, because it can slip out of there and it can fall into your valley and it can go down into the valve train. So just a good idea. So you say, okay, well, I've done that, I've popped the rivets out, now what do I do? Well, of course you can go to the hardware store and you can buy several varieties of rivets. You know, there are the kind of the knurled kind that would grip the hole tight if you can find the right size, or I'm just going to thread them. Now this hole that they're drilled to already fits a number 10 coarse thread, so a 10-24, very well. Or you can drill them out a little bit and put a number 12 in. I see no point in doing extra work, so I'm going to do number 10s. And then if I forget to show it in the end, you would want to put Loctite on your threads when you go back down in there, just to make sure you don't get a screw. We don't get a screw loose that falls down into the lifter valley, because that would just help no one. So there I was, happy as a clam, threading holes, having a great time, thinking about dinner or Dr. Pepper or why Glenn Miller just sounds so much better. I don't know. But I was using a good quality US made tap set. True, it's the wrong style for a blind hole, but it's what I had. And I broke the darn number 10 tap off in the hole. Dang it!
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Now I suppose I was just getting carried away with myself, but anyway, there she is, and I've been trying to tap it loose, but she's bottomed out and bound up. And of course the bad thing is, being a good quality tap, that high-speed steel is going to be very, very tough to get out. So this, of course, would be the danger of doing this. You just got to go slow, use oil, and just pay attention, and perhaps get a flat bottom tap for a blind hole, as opposed to what I'm doing. Now this thing would probably stay on just fine. It's nice and rigid with 3 screws, and I hope I don't have to end up doing that. So I think what I'll end up doing, at least trying, is, well, we're running to the big city tonight anyway. You know, they have a Walmart and a McDonald's. So I'll run into Ace and get the best quality carbide drill bit that I can find on their shelf. Hopefully I can drill this good steel out with that. I don't know if I'll get it done. I have some diamond coated burrs for a Dremel tool. It's possible I could get that ground down, but that'd be a lot of work, and I'd probably end up ruining the casting anyway. And there are machine shops out there that do have some kind of electronic process where you can remove metal from metal, you know. But this thing's just so tiny. I have often successfully removed broken off bolts from threads with a torch. But this is in another class of steel, so I think for now I'm going to put this on hold. Well, I have to. Tonight I'll get a new tap or two, try to get a good drill bit. Otherwise, for right now, I'm going to take it outside, hit it inside, outside, upside down with my media blaster, and that'll be it for today. And I'll join you, or we'll meet up tomorrow. And I'd also say that, you know, had that been twice the size of tap, you know, 1/4 inch or bigger, you could get a small punch in there on the flute and just tap it backwards and remove it that easily. But this small of a deal, especially when it's bottomed out, it's just done. And I just thought I'd show it to you real quick before I called it a day. Looking pretty good. Has to be one of my favorite points of working, restoring anything, is sandblasting and getting things to this point where it really starts to look like something. All the crud is gone, all the old paint is gone. Love it. Blasted as well as I could in the bores, in the coolant passages, everywhere. As you can probably tell, I haven't blown it off yet. Pretty gritty. Gonna have to do a good job of that. And then our heat shield. So at this point, well, tomorrow I'm gonna get that broken piece out there, I hope. And then I'm gonna take it home to my shop there, and I've got a couple more pieces to blast. I'll just use my blasting cabinet. Thermostat housing, the oil spout, gotta find an original cap. I have to have one somewhere. Coil bracket, get all those things ready, but otherwise this thing will be ready to paint. Good old Kansas, outside sandblasting yesterday. Ooh, not today. Sure is beautiful snow though. We got 3 inches of fresh powder, brah. If it sort of looks like I kind of got a hole there, well, you'd sort of kind of be right. Like I said, well, what I found was the best looking bit they had there. It said hard metal, and that definitely is. 15 times life, you know, red helix, all of these things are sounding cool. A good Milwaukee bit, but it just would not touch that tap, which I was not at all surprised about. So I ended up hitting, center punching a new hole just to the side of the broken off piece in there, and drilled a new hole. I have plenty of wiggle room with my heat shield to the side, so I can take care of that. Picked up a couple more taps because, yeah, you know, and we're going to go with it as long as I can get the tap down in there. I may turn out the old one while I'm turning in the new one. Who knows? We'll see. But, you know, it just makes a guy feel like a moron when this kind of stuff happens.
I'm a victim of circumstance.
But we got to keep moving forward, and this isn't that big a deal on the bottom side of the intake. So I'm going to start tapping this, and hopefully we have a good outcome here. Well, I got it threaded, got the screw in, and that'll be fine. We'll just work with the heat shield a little bit, no big deal. That was Duplicolor's ceramic primer, 500 degrees. Now it's time for the green. You saw this coming, right? Alright, well, I came home and I dug out what is either the original 283 two-barrel from my 64 Impala, or it's from the same engine in my Grandpa 65. I don't know. I think I sent along mine when I sold my car. Not sure. Anyway, I'm going to take my oil filler spout out, coil bracket. I think that's all I'm going to salvage off of this thing. I was just positive I had a good oil cap, and this is the only one I can find. So I'm going to have to do some more scrounging or just find one online, because I want the original AC just for kicks. This would be the original thermostat housing off to the right side of the engine. My 86 GMC needs it off to the left side, so I will have to use this style of housing, which is okay. I mean, this looks better, but can't be too choosy here. And then I pulled this out of the aluminum intake that I was going to use on that 305, and I will use that in our 4-barrel because of the size of the hose go into the GMC heater. So let's get these things out. I think I will try to clamp this in the vise somehow. Large boat. There we go. One of these was a bit of a sticky wicket, but we got her installed. Now, a word about this heat shield. You know, the engineers back in the day were far more concerned with how the car ran when it was cold for the average commuter, you know. So I may very well end up using the block-off plates for the exhaust ports here so that this will no longer get hot underneath the carburetor, which completely makes this splash shield unnecessary. But I figured, you know, it might as well be here. And I haven't made that decision yet, but more than likely. Now I'm going to very gently try and tap this oil spout in. I hope I can get it in there with a dead blow without messing it up too much. But I want to show you this older style. Now originally I thought I would use one of these. They are a little bit shorter. They get up to the 1.5 inch width much sooner. You can see down here compared to this one. You can see how much taller this is, but it has the little bracket for your throttle return spring. And that's going to be the problem. I can't use that because I'm using this style of thermostat housing. So this would be right in the way of that return spring bracket. But luckily, this does have the little hole for a spring. This would be from, mid to later 60s cars. This is actually the correct thermostat housing for a 327 in a car from the mid to late 60s. Assuming your water outlet to the radiator, it goes to the right there when you're looking at it. So I still have a concern here that these are going to interfere with each other, but I don't think they will. No, I should have plenty of room. At this point, there's still a good 1/2 inch, 3/8 inch there. That's plenty of room for a hose. Now I also notched this before I painted it, just touched it with a grinder, because this bottom is a little off center. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it's not completely straight, it's a little crooked. And so I just made a mark there to use that crookedness to my advantage and get it away from the upper radiator hose. So I'm going to put that notch 180 off from this point. You know what? I shouldn't have painted that bottom, so I'm going to go wire brush that off real quick. Here we go. And here you can see just how much room I'm going to have for a hose. That is plenty. Now if you have an earlier intake like I have on the shelf there, there is no way you can use one of these. They redid this casting. Like I said, this is intake from 67 and 68. Gotta be one of the last ones with the old oil spout in it. I don't know 100% when they switched over, but all of this on the front end is just a little bit different. Oil spout went more straight to the side on the older ones, so you pretty much have to use the opposite direction housing there, possibly even straight, but I'm not too sure. So I want an original oil cap, but I don't really like my options. I can't find, I'm just positive I had a good one somewhere in all my stuff, but I can't find it. You can go on eBay and find these originals with oil and AC and the 2 lines on the top, but they're going to cost you $40, and it might likely be in this condition. Now you can get ones that look like this. I don't know if they're the same size. They say oil on both sides, have the 2 lines, good option, between $20 and $30. You can get any manner of generic oil cap like this from $5 to $20. In fact, I got this one old stock, an old Gates. You know, this thing was probably made in the 90s, judging by the looks of it, and been on the shelf all this time. It's much bigger, about the same height, actually a little shorter, you know, and it's just smooth, zinc plated, shiny. You can get any manner of chrome cap you want, but I like the small size, and I want original if I can get it and not pay for it. We'll see if I succeed here. And I've just been bending over the flange here, and probably going to stop here pretty soon. I about have half the crimp undone, and it's not breaking apart, so that's good news. Actually, that's coming along pretty well. I think I'm going to go sandblast these 2 pieces really quick so I can see a little better what I'm doing here. Get rid of all these different colors of rust. Got some dings all around it, but I think I'm actually going to get this thing. Okay, so as you saw, I started out with the block of wood, just tapping dents out, then needed some kind of shape to put back into it. 7/16 box end wrench was pretty close to the curve, so I just went with that. Tap that around, just working from the outside of the damage towards the inside, and just slowly move your damage, your dents, your creases back in from the outside in. the way the damage occurred. Then I went to a 1/2 inch extension and got more of the flat spots on top. Filled the dents, a lot of pitting around the top. You just can't do a whole lot of metal work. I mean, this is like, the steel is like pop can material basically. You can't remove metal at all, or you're just gonna get into a world of hurt there. So filled it, now prime, paint. I'm not gonna get into showing a lot of this because we just went through it on the valve covers, and you know what you're doing. Well, this is probably where I'm going to leave you. Got my cap. I need to put another coat on it, but I let that Rust-Oleum dry overnight, so now I have to wait a couple days before I can recoat it. If you're ever painting with Rust-Oleum and you notice a defect, you sand it down, you try to repaint it right away within a day or two, you get the wrinkles. Yeah, that's just one of the negatives of using Rust-Oleum. The solvents are just going to eat that stuff back up, so you either have to get it recoated immediately or wait a few days. But never thought I'd get that cap looking that good again. I almost impressed myself. I've got a decal coming, the old AC service decal, and so I'll get that recoated and stuck on there, and you'll see it eventually. Dug my 1406 Edelbrock out, which is just an old, you know, it's a Weber casting Edelbrock, about 20-year-old carburetor there. The whole time I ran the 86 GMC, that's what I ran on it. Ordered a kit, so we'll go through that. Found my adapter plate, put that on it. Looks like my power valve there, and the little tab is broken. I don't know what happened there, but I'll get a new one with the kit. I think it'd be a lot of fun to hook the choke up to the bimetal spring, get rid of the electric choke. Don't know if the geometry would work out okay on that, but you know, all the years I ran my Impala, the 2-barrel had that on there, and just never had a problem with it. It always worked. But anyway, thermostat housing's on, looking fine, thermostat in there. So I'm going to say we are, looks like the paint's just a little thin right there, to touch that up. Ready to install otherwise, and it's going to look good. Man, once you pop that hood, I really wanted this cap on there, original cap, because once you pop that hood, that's the first thing you're going to see. And your brain's going to tell you something unusual is going on under the hood of this square body. Oh, and the spring is still, I don't think it's going to work out how I hoped. I think it was kind of going to rub on the linkage here. Maybe I can get a different spring. Well, it might work. We'll see. Kind of an odd angle. Yeah, there it rubs. So, might look around for a different spring, or we'll come up with something else to hook it to. Not a big deal. Now I'm going to turn my attention to the cylinder head real quick. There was still some debate in my mind of what exactly I was going to do. I was leaning towards the old mid-60s power pack heads that I have at home. 60cc 172 intakes, nothing special, but it give good compression. But I thought I better check just exactly what I had in these cylinder heads from the 305 out of the truck. Now these are the 140, 220, 601 heads, casting number, I believe. And there's several options of what that could mean. And I got to thinking, you know, being it came out of a truck, it probably has the larger intakes and hopefully has the 58 cc combustion chamber. It certainly does have the larger intakes, which is perfect. I'm going to run with them, but I need to measure the combustion chamber and make sure it is the larger one, and that is still a little lower than I want. When I run all the numbers, the bore, my 440 bore, combustion chamber at 58, the deck clearance of the piston, thickness of the gasket, all of that stuff, I still come out over 10 to 1 compression ratio. Actually getting close to 11, which I don't want to do. I do not want to run pump gas. Excuse me. I do not want to have to run 100 octane fuel. I want easy to find pump gas going down the road anywhere USA. So there are some things I can do. Get in here with a grinder and take out some sharp edges of castings and hopefully gain a couple cc's on every cylinder there, and ought to be okay. And I didn't get too technical when I was measuring, you know, I just came in with a dial caliper with the end measurement deal, whatever you call it, and just measured the deck height, and that was about at 49 thousandths or so, and just measured the a Felpro gasket for the gasket thickness. I know that'll get a little less, but these pistons, you know, they're flat top pistons, but they have the valve relief. I have no idea what kind of cc measurement that valve relief adds. So, you know, I'm sure there are plenty of guys out there that know all this stuff. I'm not one of them. I'm always just interested in getting a car running and enjoying it. You know, all the technical mumbo jumbo, whatever. I wanted to show you the 305 pistons here. I mean, there's a little bit of a ridge there. I can catch my nail on it, but I was just really impressed with how little wear is actually in that thing. Good old truck. So I think in the end I will run the 305 heads. We will go through them, go through the seat, grind the seats, grind the valves, clean up the combustion chambers, make sure we don't have a crack. Got to pull the other one off and see how that looks on the inside. But hopefully that'll actually end up being the perfect head for what I'm doing. I hope I can run it on pump gas. I don't know. We'll see. And speaking of heads, you know, I appreciate you guys so much. Your comments, your questions, your encouragement. Of course, there are negative comments here and there, but by and large, you guys are awesome. One guy in particular out there went above and beyond. He thought he had a line on some camel hump heads, and they were going to be the right price for what they are. Did not turn out to be the case, which was unfortunate. But I just want to give a special thank you. He spent a lot of time getting the heads, moving the heads to his house, getting pictures of casting numbers. We found out they were not what the guy said they were. He was willing to crate them up, ship them. He went to somewhere and figured out how much shipping would be for their weight. I mean, what a good guy. So in particular, I want to say thank you, Kevin. Do not feel bad. It did not work out. That's how these things go. I understand that. And I am just honored that you were willing to do all that to help me out and get this thing together. So no worries there. Thanks again. Heaters are so loud. So that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. Come back. We're going to get this Edelbrock rebuilt. We're going to get these cylinder heads rebuilt. I've got all the parts for the transmission to go through, clean up, get that back together, and then hopefully we will shoot this thing back into the frame and fire it up. So thanks a lot for watching. God bless you guys. See you on the next one.